look, so this is the DMD T865X. Originally, these guys had one called the DMD 865. That was essentially the same device, but with a not as bright a screen and a bit less memory.
Yep.
So the new one's got 128 gig of memory. The old one used to have 64.
Okay.
And it had about 1,000 nit screen brightness, and now it's at 1,300.
Okay.
Now, this one here's the new model, which not even a new model, but just an upgrade in the last couple of weeks, where it comes with an anti-glare screen.
Okay.
So the previous device had just a sort of standard glass screen. You can run an anti-glare screen protector. That's now built into it.
Okay.
The screen's also slightly thicker too. So the device actually weighs about 30 grams more.
That's where the weight difference is.
Yeah.
Because someone did mention that there was a weight difference.
Yeah, so that's thicker screen, anti-glare.
Nice.
And I actually we did 300 or 400 Ks on the weekend, and it was really noticeable. I had the old device on my last trip, which was 2 weeks before, and had a little bit of reflection, especially coming back with the sun behind me. And the weekend we just did this ride, and mate, it was virtually zero. I couldn't actually see any reflection of myself. There was a little bit from the sun, like as in you could see the sun reflection, but it wasn't my helmet and my goggles and all the stuff reflecting back at me. Makes a big difference on it too. So like I said, all the new models that we sell have the new anti-glare screen on them.
Okay. Before I forget, you can put a SD card in these?
Yeah, you can put, there's 3 slots. So one is for an SD card, another 2 for 2 different SIM cards.
Okay.
So if you wanted to run Optus on one, Telstra on another, and an SD card. Now, 128 gig is a pretty big device.
Yep.
So most of my customers don't worry about an SD card. I don't really recommend using SD cards for storage of things like maps or things that you're going to regularly need to use on the device. If you want to store, you go on a camp at night and you've got some movies you got to put on it or stuff like that, yeah, sure, go for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, you can expand it out to I think it's like 500 gig or something.
Okay, that was my next question. How big a card can you put in it? So
maybe more. I'm not sure. I don't get asked too many questions on that, but I'm sure it's about 500 gig.
While we're at it, I'm going to grab something which, before I forget, it's just these couple of things I thought were pretty cool. If you're old school like myself and you don't want to use Spotify and you're middle of nowhere, you can actually put a set of headphones in it, and it turns it into a radio, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's got a radio, which it's such an old school feature, right? But I've had about half a dozen guys comment, man, I love the radio feature. Like just sitting there at night listening to the footy.
Yep.
It's awesome. Yeah.
It is great, and you don't need data for that. No. It's just straight on. And the other thing we've been asked, we'll get back into the hardware side of it before I forget, was people under the illusion that if you buy a DMD unit, you've got to pay a monthly subscription, but that's not true.
No.
If you buy the thing outright.
No, you can use the DMD software on a phone or a tablet or whatever, just a standardised one. But if you buy any DMD device, lifetime subscription for free, lifetime map downloads for free. Same with the OBD reader and the roadbook, no extra cost.
Yeah. And I have been on the DMD site, and you can actually build your own maps on the DMD site very easily.
Yeah, they've got a track builder on there at the moment called GPX Editor.
Very brilliant.
Very easy and basic to use.
Yep.
There is a new, very exciting one getting built in the background that's going to be a bit more AI focused and built, and it's going to be able to do, left click, start here, left click, finish there, and it'll build all your own tracks for you. Awesome. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So the guys have got so much on their plate that's happening in the background, but it'll get there eventually. And it will integrate with the device too, which will be really good.
Okay, awesome. Okay, you can.
So getting back to the device itself. So what you can see on the screen there is the basic dashboard. Now I send all my devices. I get the devices basically as an empty. It's got DMD on it, but it's just a blank. Like setting up a new phone you get from the phone shop.
Yep.
I'll do all the firmware updates. I do all the software updates. I download all the maps for Australia or New Zealand, depending on where the device is going to. And I just want the customers to have a really good experience when they pull it out of the box and it's ready to go. So that takes me quite some time, but I'll make sure everyone's sorted. And what I do is I'll add in a few of the settings apps and a few of the Google Maps, Google Play Store, Chrome, just as easy access points for the customers. So this is essentially, DMD2, the DMD stands for Drive Mode Dashboard.
Yep.
So essentially, years ago, these guys made a dashboard type application for the AJP PR7 over in Portugal. It's a Portuguese-made bike. A few of your viewers will know what it is. And then it sort of spread into such a really good application that it went to other devices and other bikes as well. So this is where the dashboard part come in. So that bike runs a Samsung tablet as a dashboard. It doesn't have a proprietary dashboard like your Gas or my Tenere has. So they run like a Samsung tablet, and you get your speedo, you get your time, you get your revs, all comes off the tablet. Now, they're a pretty basic tablet, but the software was really, really good, which made it popular. So this part of the dashboard, I've got the DMD maps in a little widget. I've got weather in a widget. Once I'm running along, I've got the speed, time, and a few shortcuts along the bottom there. So that's a pretty basic setup of that. There are some, like I said, you can scroll through and do things like you can get all my OBD connections. So I could have my RPM, my voltage, all that is at a glance, and as well as the tire pressure as well. There's a whole heap of options. But like I said, if you just want to use this part of it, just use that part of it. It doesn't have to be complicated.
No.
Now, the next tab on here this is where the magic happens. Yeah. So this is the mapping side of it, which is what got me into DMD initially 3 or 4 years ago. So the DMD tablet runs on OSM maps, which is OpenStreetMaps. So it's like the Wikipedia of maps. So they're publicly, people can publicly make alterations to them, or they can make additions to them. But overall, all the writing I've done, 10, 20,000 Ks with it now, mate, it's all 99% accurate. I haven't found anything that's been weird and there's not a road there or there is a road there. I'm sure there's some forestry tracks that might be new or unlisted or unused that may pop up from time to time. But overall, the ride we did on the weekend, 400 Ks, all the national parks were listed, all the back roads were listed, everything was on there. I mean, you can see, you might not be able to see this on the video, but when you scroll in, I'll have to find a good part of the world there. So over near Newcastle somewhere, where have we got? If you zoom in on, there you go, Taree, there's some maps. You see as we go down, you got the greens, you got all these tracks through the forests, and they're all colour-coded, which is what I was showing Mark before with that legend. So a green track, a brown track, obviously you got your rivers, everything's in there. So, and they're all topo maps as well. But, then if you go into town, you've obviously got all your streets as well. So this is that's the bit I love about it, is just the sorting of the way the map works. I'll tell a story I've told a couple of customers now, which we did a ride last year, and there was about half a dozen of us got stuck in this forest. And it was a 400K day. We'd done 15 Ks in an hour and a half. And it wasn't looking good. So I said to the guys, I'm like, it was literally, I'm like, we got to get out of here. And at the time I had the DMD 865 mounted up on the tower of the Tenere, and the Garmin XT2 on the handlebars, because I always run 2 GPSs as a fail-safe. And I'm a GPS nerd, so I love all that sort of stuff. Anyway, I looked at the Garmin and the way it maps it, and yeah, there was plenty of tracks getting out of there, and there was topo, so you could see the topo lines, but they were all single brown tracks as far as the eye could see. So I didn't know if these were dirt roads, were they single trails, were they standard trails? It was a really hard thing to try and tell. So you look at the DMD, and it gives you a legend of these maps. So green is for easy, sort of compacted dirt tracks. The brown and the yellow ones are slightly harder, mid-range. Be careful if it's raining, but they'll be okay to ride on. And then the red is basically your extreme sort of enduro type tracks. There's a couple others, blue and yellow, I think, that are the blue ones for walking tracks, and there's a bridle way, which must be an overseas thing for horses or something.
A solid grey one, but it doesn't come up in a ledger. I don't know what the solid grey one is.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. But obviously you got yellows.
It's probably a tunnel.
Well, you got yellows, your main roads. You've got greys, your standard roads. So the thing, like I said, I really like about it is the way it does mapping, the way it follows your tracks as well. For years I've used a pink line, a magenta line on the devices I've had, which is good, nice and clear. But there were some devices I've had over the years where that line's been really tiny and hard to see, really thin, to the point where I had one particular device, I sold it. I couldn't use it. I could not see the line well enough. It was so thin on the device. So, but these guys, the way they do the lines, actually I'll see if I can turn one on so you can see it, but it's so thick and easy to follow that, mate, it just makes life simple. Like when you're following these things. I'll just turn the pink line on here so we can see it. Close, there we go. So as you can see on that one there, I mean, you cannot miss that. That green flashing you just saw was the device telling me that I'm on the track, because this literally leaves from the workshop here. And yeah, it's just such an easy thing. Even small things like this, there's arrows on the track.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of other devices don't have that. So if you come up this road here and on another device, you'll see this pink line, right? Well, which way do I go?
Well, I actually hadn't noticed that. Now,
You've got those, and you can make those arrows. Yeah. This pink line, make it as big or as small as you want.
Yeah, that's right.
The arrows as big or as small as you want. I have mine sort of about mid-range on all of it. Those arrows could probably be a touch bigger, but I sort of know which way I'm going. Now, another example, let's say we did come up this grey road here and we got to this pink line. Now, we do know with the arrows pointing that way, that's the way we've got to go. If we don't pick those arrows up and we do go left, this device will start flashing red and say, hey, wrong way, wrong way.
Which I did notice that if you go off, instead of rerouting, this is obviously going to be a track, it's got a solid red line.
Yeah, it'll have a nice big red line, and it'll tell you 300 metres, 380 metres, keep trying to guide you back to the track and how far. I think there is a drop off. It gets to like half a K or a K, and it basically realises, look, you're not going back to that track straight away, so we'll drop the line. Okay. But it will flash at you occasionally to tell you that you're off track.
Yep.
The thing I really like about it too is this little boxes on the side here. So essentially, this is your track information. So it's currently telling me that I'm 7.7 metres from a fuel station, that I'm not actually on track at the moment, so this isn't quite accurate. But once you're on the track, it'll tell you how many Ks to the next fuel station, how many Ks to the next place to eat, and how many Ks to the next place to get a coffee.
That's standard, is it?
Yep, that's standard on the device. So when you've got a GPX track loaded in there, it will actually it's probably not going to tell me that.
Yeah, okay, because all I was following was the top number, how far it was to the destination.
Yep.
Not knowing what the others were really like.
You can. No, you can do, or it'll order, and it just does it automatically. Oh, how which is great.
Well, yeah, it's good to know about the servo.
There we go. Now, okay, I've got it to do it because I actually had the track going backwards. So now I've got this track going from my house up to the Coolar Tops National Park. So I'm 50 kilometres to the first waypoint. I set auto progress waypoint, so it tells me then my first waypoint's at 50 Ks, and that'll actually count that down. So as I'm getting closer to that first 50K mark, it'll say 30 Ks, 20 Ks, 10 Ks, and then I'm at the 50K mark, and the next one's 100 and 150. I'm 1.5 Ks to the fuel stop. I'm 800 metres from somewhere to eat and 900 metres from a cafe. And you can set those and change them to whatever you want it to be. It could be a service station.
As a standard, that is what that is.
That's what comes up. And these are these auto progress waypoints. So you'll see that blue one there. That's the 100K mark on that track. So as I'm getting closer to it, it'll say, I might be here, I'm like, okay, well, I've done 100 Ks when I get to that point. And in my brain, I might know the servo's at 120 or 130. I'm only 20 or 30 after that.
This stuff, it was on mine on my trip here, and I was wondering what the go with the flags were.
Yep. So I tend to use predetermined GPX tracks. I build them at home on the PC. I might have them downloaded, friends share them with you. Very easy to load into the device, as you know, Mark. So on here, there's a GPX manager. So basically, you touch that. That's some tracks that I've got loaded in there. I actually loaded in a heap that I'd saved to muck around with. But essentially, that's the one that I'm doing currently. I want that at the top of the list. If I want to load another file, I can just go into like my Google Drive, which I'm not in there at the moment. And I go to my GPX files, and I go to my tracks that I've made. Yeah, in here, I've got a full list of tracks that I've made. So that's one I did with my mate Jeremy on the 23rd of December. I hit that and there it is. So what I want to do is I want to turn off the other one that I've got loaded, which is that one. So there's no confusion. So I've turned that old one off. The new one's at the top here. The green means I'm literally on the track currently, and the green eye means that that's the one. It's actually showing on the display. Yeah. So you'll see that's the track there. It's got all those little waypoints in it. There's your one for food. There's the 50K mark for the track, little campsite. And you literally just get on and follow it. It's that easy. Yeah. So I just like the way, like I said, with the other devices I use, the Garmin's, I was so locked into what it would let me do and that ecosystem. This, I can have really thick lines if I want thick lines to follow them. I can change the colours easily. I can invert tracks easily, do them in reverse, do them forward. I can show, this is one thing I really like about this. I'm not sure, here we go. So in that track that I've got 3 different tracks on that day. So I can show the first one and not show the other 2. The Garmin's that I've used before, you've either got to show all or show none, unless you put them into different collections. Yep. Whereas these, you can literally go, okay, I want day 1 on, I don't want day 2, and we'll just leave it at that. Now, the other thing you'll see on this device up the top is the turn right in 36 meters. Now, I have a lot of customers that ask me about wanting turn-by-turn directions. I'm not much of a turn-by-turn direction guy, but there are plenty of people that want that connected and want to hear it. And now, there hasn't been a device that I've seen, and you'll probably get someone in the comments, they love to correct these things, but that does turn-by-turn on GPX tracks. Plenty do them on routes, but on GPX tracks, it's not something you tend to find. DMD is the only one I've seen that will literally give you turn-by-turn directions on a track. Now, a 5-second summary on the difference between a track and a route for people that might not know. Yep. A track is a fixed line. So if you overshoot that and you ride another 50 meters off, that line stays where it is. Now, a route is what most people will be familiar with Google Maps. You might have that in your car. You take a wrong turn. Google Maps goes, oh, hang on, let me just recalculate that for you. Dink, dink, dink. Here's another way to go. Now, that's okay if you're on tar roads and you're in a city and you eventually get to where you're going. But if you're in the bush, that device recalculating your adventure ride means you could miss a fuel stop, send you down a goat trail. I personally don't like it. Some people do like them, but me, I've always been taught to use tracks.
Well, I found if you do use routes and you've got guys with you, everyone seems to go off in different directions if you've got to lose each other.
Exactly. Well, that's what happens, right? One guy overshoots, his route gets recalculated, you stick to the track, yours doesn't. So you're going this way, he's been recalculated that way. Yep, so if he has a breakdown there, no service, who knows where he is?
That's exactly right.
So yeah, look, like I said, I stick to tracks primarily, but each to their own. If you're really a route guy and you build them, all power to you. There is a way on here to also, you can have the track on and you can have the route on. So you have the track underneath the route, if you know what I mean. So if you do go off, it will recalculate on the route, but you'll see the track underneath if that's how you want to do it, but it sort of just complicates things. The other really handy thing on the map page is the group ride function. Yep. So you'll see this little dot up here with a couple of people in the picture. You hit that one. This is a group that me and my mate have. He's currently not online, but if he was, it'd show that his location on the map.
Okay.
So
and this all works off the cell of your phone, is
that's right. So you do need some internet to be able to make that work. Look, what I do is I've got an Audi SIM card in there. It uses the Telstra network, which obviously is the most common, especially in rural areas. It's $9 a month.
Is that why that's online all the time, is it?
All the time, yeah. So currently we're in the shed, so I've got Wi-Fi. But if I turn the Wi-Fi off, it'd still be connected to the internet because I'd have a SIM card. Now that Audi package, I think it's got 30 gigabytes for 12 months. Unless you're streaming, for the device itself, you're never going to use 30 gig in a year, sorry. You're never going to use it. So I just have that for $8 or $9 a month. It's just easier than having to tether and swap SIM cards and do all that sort of stuff. So I tend to leave it in and it's constantly got the internet whenever I need it. So, and it is a good backup, right? So it's also good if you've got an Optus phone and you have a Telstra SIM in this, you've always got that connection where you might be in a place that does have one and not the other.
That's right.
So that group ride function is really good. You can add a bunch of people in there. It's all through the Drive Mode dashboard website, which is the DMD2 website. You can create groups. You can add people to it. You can make let's say there's 6 of you on a particular ride. You can make one just for, our long weekend ride, and you can all see each other on it. And then at the end of the ride, you can delete it and have another one.
Is it something the guys are looking at? Because they're 2 mates that actually came up with the DMD. Is it something they're thinking about, is actually having it so it's probably hits like an antenna, goes to satellite, comes down instead of having the data?
You hit the nail on the head. So they're working on that part of it. So similar to the InReach type setup where, even yesterday we saw on the news that Telstra's launched a satellite messaging service through certain Samsung phones. So you don't need cell data to do that. This stuff's all coming eventually to most devices, I think. So I know the guys at DMD are working on a non-cellular group ride function. Garmin do one. I had one with a tread that I used, but it needed like a UHF signal.
Yes.
It was great idea, but it was so limited. It was 2Ks or something. Like it was really not enough to. It was designed really for buggies in America when they're out in the desert, which is great. You've got really good line of sight. You're all fairly close together. But in Australia, when you're going through a forest and there's 6 of you, you're never going to see each other, you know. So this thing, and you'd be surprised, like I've had a few people go, oh yeah, but the mobile service isn't that great. You would be shocked how often you actually ping a tower in the middle of nowhere. Like you go up a rise and it'll ping a tower, and okay, it may not be always live location, but it's pretty bloody close. And you go, okay, well this guy was pinged here 10 minutes ago. So he's got to be somewhere between us and that spot. Right, so it is handy like that. Look, and me and my mate Jeremy, we do a lot of rides together. We don't actually use the group ride function that much because we're always sort of in line of sight. But we have had a couple of rides where it's been the 3, 4, 5, 6 of us, and we're sitting up the top, and you're just waiting, and you're like, where are these guys? You know, and we had a ride last year. A bloke went through a puddle, a big log in the middle of the puddle, come off, punched a hole in the case of his DR. Now, the 3 of us are out front. We'd done 2 corners, and because we all had GPSs, so it wasn't a corner man system. And same thing, we're waiting and waiting with no idea. If we had this sort of device, we'd have known his possible exact location or the last time he had service. So we didn't know he could have been 20 Ks back, but at least it'll give you a rough idea. Maybe it's 5 Ks, maybe it's the exact point where he is now.
And that's what we've got right now as we speak. So, yeah, awesome.
Yep. So, look, so that's basically the group function, the GPX loading function. The other one, which a lot of people ask about, is the routing function. So, being able to find something, you're on a ride, you know, we've got a flat tire on a bike, we've done a set of wheel bearings. How far are we from the closest town? How far are we from the closest repair centre? So, as you were saying before, you basically use a little magnifying glass on here, search that. Now, you've got an online search, so if you want to be specific and say, you know, I want to find XYZ motorcycle shop, online search, no problems. Now, if you're offline, there's all these other ones here. So they'll give you all the closest offline points of interest. So let's say that there's a motorcycle shop here. It'll tell you there's a Mudgee Honda Centre, Harley shop, Western Ranges, and it'll give you the distance to all those shops. You can literally go, okay, well, I need to get to this Honda shop straight away, so I can navigate to it. And you've got 2 options. Either use DMD2 or an external app, which will be like Google Maps. Now, if you've got no service, obviously Google Maps isn't going to work. So we'll use DMD2. We want to get there fast on the road. Now, if it's more of a casual thing, like we want to get to a hotel by 5 o'clock, okay, we might road fun or off-road it, but let's just say we need to get to this shop to get some wheel bearings. Start that. DMD will have a think about it in the background. And I'll just turn these other ones off so we can see it. So I'll turn that off. So that blue line now, that's given us a direct route straight to the motorbike shop. And that's fully offline. So you don't need to, you know, have a connection or tether your tablet to it. So alternatively, if you don't know exactly where you want to go, but you know, you're like, oh, we've got to get to Merriwall, for instance, you can literally go, hold your finger on it, and it'll bring up save location, share the location, search for POIs there. So we need a motorbike shop in Merriwall, and it'll show you those offline. But okay, we know we just want to go there. So we don't want to type it in. We just literally can just go navigate, use DMD2. It'll get rid of the Mudgee one.
These great options again.
Yep. Yeah. And then it'll think about it, and then it's given us a route straight to Merriwall. So, you know, and once again, you turn by turn on the side there, what your ETA, how many kilometres you are, etc.
And just to touch on it, these guys are the guys that make these, unlike other companies, you can email them and you won't get a response. You email these guys, they get back to you. Because when I first got my DMD, I had a little glitch with it. I asked Dave about it. Dave thought, well, he must have turned something off. And what it was that...
It was literally, it was I call it the throttle riding adventures glitch, because he's the only person in the world that's ever had it happen to him. But he searched for a place, the route found it, but because Mark's place is 200 or 300 metres off the road, and the road is where the route started, he wasn't on the route, which means he couldn't finish the route or exit it, wouldn't exit it. If he'd have literally walked to the end of his driveway, it would have turned off. Yeah. And these guys are like, we've never seen that before.
Yeah, because what happened, just show the box. It didn't have this. It didn't have this box.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Offline. But now you can be in the middle of Mount Kosciuszko off the track.
Yeah.
and you're able to do a route from there.
So when you've got a route and you want to, I'm just calculating another one.
Explain it a bit better.
I just happened to calculate one that was like.
There is a.
So there's a box here. Now this, to end your route, you just press finish, right? Now Mark's device wasn't showing that. It was showing the blue line, but no way to exit it.
No, couldn't turn it
And
off.
the guys are like, we've never seen, because they always obviously test them on a road or on a track. Like you could be on, the French line and do this and it would pick it up.
Yep.
But because your driveway's not a road or an official track, you're in a field. So it couldn't find it. So it did route you from the nearest one. So if you needed to get somewhere, you could literally ride to where the blue line was and go from there.
Yeah.
But so Mark told me, I reported it to DMD that afternoon, and by 6 o'clock the next morning, there was an update and they'd fixed it.
Yeah, and therefore, if you're in the middle of nowhere, you can actually turn it off and on because it had that. What do you call that box there? It's just
it's a track progress box.
Yeah. So before it just wasn't there, and then
because I'm like, press finish in the box, and Mark's like, mate, there's no box there. I'm like, there's got to be one there. I don't know what you're talking about. And so sure enough, we had a look and mate, why is there no box there?
Long story short, if you've got an issue or a problem, if Dave can't help you, the guys from DMD, or get on the Facebook page.
They've got a really active Facebook page. And look, when I started the business, I was a bit worried about, I'm a pretty tech savvy guy and there's a lot of non-tech savvy people. And I thought, God, how are people going to get their heads around this as much as I do? And I mean, like I said, it's quite a simple system. But there are a few little things that people are like, I don't know how to do it. And mate, I'll see them type it on the DMD Facebook page and within minutes, there's an answer. Because you know what? There's 20,000 people on that page and some of them are pro users, some of them are entry level, but more often than not, someone's had the same question or issue and I'll see it. I mean, there's things on there about how to use the software, how to do a route, how to do that, how to adjust. Like I had a guy the other day, I'll show you where are we? So he's on the side of your device there. You've got, I have my speed, altitude, distance to that I've done on the ride and then the time. Now this guy must have bumped that. He's taken all those boxes out. Right. And for love of money, he couldn't figure out, he's like pressing buttons and trying things and he couldn't get it back on. And he spent half an hour, he put a thing up on, mate, I've lost this, and someone goes, press the arrow at the top. Bing. Just small things like that, whereas it might not be in the instructions online. It's sort of there's so many little things you can muck around with. But like I said, that Facebook page is a godsend. It's really, really good. And they have a forum as well. So if you're not a Facebook guy, there's a DMD forum on their own page. And there's a lot of guys that get on there as well.
I think it must be patrolled a bit because I have not seen too many.
No, there's no trolls on there. It's actually pretty good. There's a couple of guys that are, I think sometimes some of the Euro guys, it gets lost in translation. Like they're pretty blunt and you go, oh, that was a bit. But when you understand those guys and you deal with them, they're pretty direct and to the point. But yeah, there's no troublemakers. There's no one putting other people down. Like there are, some people go, oh, this is a dumb question. And it's like, mate, it's just a question. Yeah. Like you don't know the answer to it. Here's the answer.
Because I've seen some of the little issues with them, and the guys are jumping on, so we'll sort it out, send the unit in. But I know the other companies are not like that.
No, they're very proactive. I've had zero. I had an OBD scan, OBD dongle fail the other day, and I don't know what happened. Something's happened to it and it wasn't working anyway. That I just sent one out to the customer. I didn't even check with DMD. I'm like, mate, here's a new one. Like whatever I sell, I back up 100%. Yeah. I've been taught that in my previous jobs. And I sent it through to DMD. They're like, no problems. Just give him a new one. We'll sort it out.
Just for everyone to know before I forget, if you've got any technical questions, don't dump them on me. I'm going to put a link in the description and comments so you can hit Dave up.
info@motoexplorer.com.au. The website, there's a contact us form. Phone number's on there. Give me a call. Our Instagram, I get lots of different messages, and honestly, I actually love it. So basically, as I was saying, it is Android in the background, but you don't need to be an Android guy. You can be an iPhone guy, whatever. Never use technology. I think I've said this a couple of times now, but I have one customer that's a 67-year-old diesel mechanic. Mate, he doesn't know anything about technology, and essentially, I ran him through how to connect it to Wi-Fi, how to set up a Google Drive. He had a particular app that he liked to use on his phone. I can't remember the name of it, but we loaded that onto the device for him. Mate, I've heard one from him once. He said how easy it was, never had a drama again. Yeah, so you don't need to be, that's probably the next point. you don't need to be a tech savvy person to use the device. It's pretty intuitive, pretty easy to use. And yeah, you don't need to be like, a geek or a nerd to get into it. The thing I do like about the DMD software in general is it gets you out of a lot of adventure riders have used Garmin for a long time.
Yeah.
And you're really locked into what a Garmin device can do, which is basically follow a track, find an address, get there. Not always reliably, as some of your viewers have probably found out. Nothing's perfect in this world, but I'd probably get 2 or 3 calls a week from guys saying, "Hey man, I'm sick of this device I've got. Tell me about DMD," and I tell them what I'm telling you now. So now I can just point them to a video. Yeah. Save me a few phone calls. But yeah, they are a pretty easy device to use. They're, and I tell my customers they're as complicated or as simple as you want them to be.
Exactly
you can, you're not, a crazy tech savvy guy, but mate, putting a track in, following it, pulling it off at the end of the night, it's fine, nice and easy.
Yeah. So for me, all I run is my Fobo 2, which is the tyre pressure monitoring, and my maps. That's all I use mine for.
Yeah. And look, if you don't have a Fobo set up, DMD do their own integrated tyre pressure monitoring setup. Yeah, which is may or may not have something to do with Fobo, I think.
I might have to get one of those.
Yeah. And so literally that one there, it integrates into, I'll bring it up on the device.
I didn't know they did that.
Yeah, so that's the TPMS, which is on my bike. It's actually Bluetooth to it at the moment. So it gives us the temperature. We're at 15 degrees, front tyres at 22, rear tyres at 21. And that will actually give you, you can set some warnings in it as well, which will go in here. There's a full bunch of settings in there. Rapid deflation, low tyre pressure settings, and it'll flash on the screen as you're riding if you've got any issues. Now, really good. You don't have to switch from another app or have a separate little LCD mount on the handlebars.
Yeah, that's kind of what I had to do today. Yesterday I had to take the Fobo off the KDM and put onto this. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to get a set of those.
Yeah, they're a good thing, nice and easy. They have small batteries inside. They last for ages. And ironically, you can actually, like what I tend to do is turn the bike on in the workshop, and it just gives me that instant tyre pressure reading. Like you probably know with your setup, and you're like,
it's great.
Yeah, I'm like, oh sweet, they're at 22, 21. I won't even check them.
Sure.
Well,
I don't even see my readouts. I've got it so if it goes too flat or too low, it just sets an alarm off. So I know.
And this thing does the same thing where it'll literally have a little red circle around your screen, and it'll flash, say tyre pressure too low. And I'll even set, like I've got mine, I can't remember what I've got them set now, but I've got them set at, if my rear tyre goes below 15, it'll start flashing at me, and at 18, the same for the front. And then I can have a low pressure alarm, or I can just keep an eye on it on the thing. And there's a couple of different options to the way you display it. So obviously you can have your little app built into the dashboard side, or you can have up the top here, I've managed to do it as a little, just up the top of the screen there. So if you haven't got that app running, like I tend to have this weather app running. So at the top here, I've got TPMS, front 22, rear 21.
Okay, nice.
So just a nice little reminder. I mean, there's a particular track I've done a few times down to the high country called Barry Way from Jindabyne down south. And it is a sketchy, slippery road. The amount of times I've looked down at, stopped, checked my tyres, I must have a flat tyre. No, it's just the conditions.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and so with this thing, mate, it's another thing I don't have to think about. I look at the pressures. Oh, I'm still at 22, 21. Off I go.
Yeah, no, I found the Fobo terrific, but yeah, I'm going to have a set of these today.
It's a product that I love and I believe in. And I had a guy the other day goes, mate, we've been on the phone for an hour and a half. And I'm like, mate, I love talking about it. Let's keep going. What else do you want to know,
What more are we going to cover on that?
Okay, there's probably a couple of things on the 865. I mean, you obviously got your OSM maps, which are traditional type street map. If you've got service, you can do a satellite map.
This is what I love.
So, if that helps you, you find tracks and bits and pieces, you can turn the satellite version off, on or off. You can hit that there. That's my precipitation one. So if there's a big rain band, it zooms out to, I think it's 20 Ks, and it'll give you a full wraparound if there's any weather coming. Obviously, with beautiful day outside, even though it's freezing cold. This one here's the temperature one. It's hilarious. Even in the middle of winter, we still get a mild temperature warning compared to some of the other countries. So I've in the middle of summer, this thing will be bright red. I have it on there. It's not something I particularly use, but it's interesting to have it on. and then press it again and I'm back to my standard again.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. Oh, one more thing. This little button up in the corner here, it's your compass sort of location button. So there's a lot of settings on whether you want to follow your track up, you want to follow your track north. So the map consistently stays north, and if you're traveling east to west, you'll travel that way across the map. I don't know who your weirdos are, but they're out there. I can't do it. I've got to follow the track up.
That's one I like.
Yeah. So and then that gives me, this is the group ride function. So basically you can tap that and that'll show every member of your group in the map at one time. Obviously I'm getting my notifications through from my iPhone at the same time. That's what the blue ring is. That's the notification light up. This one's just your generalized north up for the track, and then back to track up following as well. So look, you can go a bit further with the DMD, but most of it's just your road book stuff. And obviously I said the only other question I get a lot is about the OBD scanner.
Yeah.
So it connects to all the modern bikes. And when I say modern, I mean most from 2010 onwards will have some sort of OBD.
So do you have to get an extension or a loop or for it to plug in, or does it just plug straight in?
Depends on the bike. Most bikes have a small OBD connector, so you need a connector. Some of the earlier BMWs run the full 16-pin one. We'll pause that there and I'll grab one for you. I can have a look at it. Right, so this is the OBD scanner that DMD sell. So basically it syncs into your DMD 865, 665, any of the DMD software that's loaded on any device. So that's it there. It's tiny little unit, waterproof, has an auto off function as well. So there are some other, you can buy some cheaper OBD little dongles, but they don't have an auto off function, which means they'll just drain your battery.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So these things. Now what you'll need, it's called a 16-pin OBD. Now this plugs into a car, right? But they also plug into a couple of bikes. But most bikes these days run this one here, which is the Euro 5 cable. So you'll see it's got a red tip on it. So your gas runs it, my Tenere runs it.
Okay, yep.
A lot of bikes younger than 2022 will be this cable. I've got about 6 or 7 different cables on the website that fit most bikes, but I sell 10 to 1 of everything else.
Do many guys actually get this?
Yeah, I sell a few of them. Look, it's not for everyone. It depends. If you want lots of, I'll tell you what I do sell it to. Some bikes don't have a lot of info on the dash, like your 700, but some bikes do. Like my Tenere's got air temp sensors and oil temperature and all that sort of stuff. But what the DMD gives you is coolant level, throttle. It'll actually give you like an RPM as well.
Okay.
You can clear engine codes. It'll tell you if your bike's throwing an engine code at the same time.
Okay.
Which I've had that issue with the Tenere a couple of times. It's got a slip joint header pipe on it, like an aftermarket one. Sometimes they'll get a splash of water on the O2 sensor. So it's not a problem, but it just affects it. So it just throws a code, and I can literally clear it on the go with that thing plugged in. So yeah, sell a few of those. They do pretty well. Like I said, mostly to bikes where people don't have a lot of information on the dashboard, and they can get it through their DMD too.
Yeah, nice.
Okay. Yeah, so there's that little bad boy there. Then obviously the other thing I talked about before was the tyre pressure monitoring sensors. Very easy to fit. You literally screw them on the bike. There's a little tab under the battery. You pull that out and activate them. Yep. You do connect one at a time to the DMD software. So you go into the TPMS widget, tell it the one picks it up via Bluetooth. You go front, that's connected. Do the same with the rear. Look for it, rear, and it's a 3-minute job to connect it.
Oh, awesome.
And you know what? I thought, how do I use this in the correct language? I thought it was a bit of a waste of time. Like I've never used TPMS before, right? And then since I've had it on my bike, mate, it's unreal. I love it. I love having just that little bit of info. Yep. I look down, no flat tire, everything's good, off I go.
Yep.
So yeah, those two things are really, really good. A couple of other things, we also sell this is a new mount that DMD's just made. It's the off-road holder. So it's heavy duty. It's heavy as well. So it's about 400 grams. The standard adventure holder is about, I think it's like 170. Okay. It's almost twice. So DMD made this there's guys in Europe that use the roadbook section, the roadbook part of DMD too. for rallies, and they wanted something heavy duty and bulky and hold it in and all the rest of it, and that's what this is. So we sell the other one as the adventure holder, which will do 90% of adventure riders. If you want to do enduro, if you have a habit of crashing your bike, I'd recommend the off-road holder. But the adventure holder I've been running for 20,000 Ks and it's perfectly fine.
Wow.
Like I said, the advantage of this is it is a bit wraparound. Here, I can chuck it in.
Yeah, just
so you can see what it looks like. Pop it in there.
It is robust because you gave me the option. I said, no, I don't.
So it is in there. It's got the wraparounds on the side. It is lockable as well. So there's some other ones like you can buy for the Zumos and stuff. You can buy a lockable mount. It's another $300 on top. Yeah. Whereas the lockable mount comes with the device. So you can lock that. Obviously, it's for theft and for security, so it doesn't pop out. Now, the only downside of this setup is it doesn't have the charging pins built into the device.
Okay, well, just rudely interrupted by a phone.
Mate, that happens. Happens to the best of us. So yeah, this is like I said, it's the heavy duty off-road holder. Now, like I said, it's a really good mount for if you want to do enduro, rally, anything like that. I think it personally is probably a bit of overkill for your standard adventure rider. Now, in comparison, this is what we at Moto Explorer call the adventure holder. So it's quite lightweight. It's made from a heavy duty steel, but it's a lot more compact. It has dual locks on it, so you can lock it at the side or the front. You don't need to do both. It basically, because some bikes will have a screen that mounts right up against that back holder, which is why they put the side one in, and some others might have a screen that sort of wraps around, but you've got access to the rear mount. So it's really easy to either use one or the other. Now, this, as you can see, in comparison, it's a lot less holder, but if you've got it mounted up on a tower, you want a bit less weight, that's definitely the one to go for.
Definitely strong enough.
Yep, and this is the wiring loom. Both of them use the same wiring loom. That's your pogo pin charging at the bottom. This three-way wiring harness will obviously charge the holder. It also charges this separate cable that goes into the back of the 865 here. It's a sort of rubber plug. You pull that out, and that's just a secondary way of charging. You don't need to use both. Basically, I just use the pogo pin charging, and then I have that as a spare. So if there ever happens to be a cut wire or a failure or something, you've always got that other one as a backup way of charging the device. The old 2 is 1, 1 is none theory. Now, like I said, there are 3 cables in this. 2, one for charging the holder, one for the M9 charging cable, and this extra spare one. Now, that one there is for the remote control, which you've got on your bike, the remote 2. And it's great. You don't have to. The good thing about that, you don't have to find another power source. There's some other brands out there that sell remotes. So you've got to power the device, then you've got to power the remote. You've got to try and find splitters and accessories, and all this is in. So there's no Bluetooth connection. There's no hoping it connects or anything. It's all just straight into the device and off you go.
And it works every time.
Every single time. You turn it on, there's a little red light.
Every time.
And there it is. So the remote 2...
I absolutely love this remote. This is just so easy to use.
And look, I call it a stage 2 purchase. Like some guys will buy it straight up. I love it. I love it and I recommend it. But what I do find is a lot of guys, because these aren't cheap. No. They're pretty well priced, but they're not, a couple $100. So they buy it, they love the device, and they're still like, what's next, And that's where I make a lot of these remote 2 sales.
Yeah,
so
they're just awesome.
So essentially the remote 2 has a silver little switch down here, up and down for zooming in and out, a panning joystick at the top, which, because this is hardwired, you can use it as a 360 panning device. So traditionally you'd just be up, down, left, right? This you can literally go all the way 360 degrees around the map to find where you're going.
I'll show you guys that.
Yeah, you can show that on the device.
You guys that, yeah.
And then you got your buttons to press into apps or to find your location and other bits and pieces.
This one here resets. So if you're way off the centre, you can't find yourself. You just press this once. It brings you back to where you are in the positioning.
Yeah, it finds your location. And the thing I mostly use it for, and I absolutely love it for, is a zoom.
Oh, absolutely.
So if I'm on the highway, I'm zoomed out to a K, maybe 2 Ks. If I'm coming into town, I'm at 200 metres. If I'm in the bush, I'm anywhere between 200 to 80. But I just love that. I just get that overall view of the ride. And look, maybe people don't care and they're like, keep your eyes on the road. But to be honest, I do like the fact that, you know that tight bend's coming up,
What I found is I haven't overshot any corners since I've been using that pan in, because when you have it panned out, you have two turn-offs pretty close. And I've always done the thing and just gone off on the wrong section, but with this pan in, I pan right in.
Yeah.
And I see exactly where I'm.
Look, I haven't had a customer buy one of these yet and go, God, I wish I'd. It was a waste of time, not a single one.
Bloody brilliant.
I've had it's a bit of a luxury, but let me tell you, once you get in there and you start using that zoom in out, and even to the point, I mean, we've all done it. We've been down a track and it says no through road, right? And you're like, is it? Isn't it? And a quick pan on this takes you straight to the end of the road. Oh, okay, it's a DMD. Like I said, the maps are pretty accurate. Okay, it's a dead end. Let's turn around. It's all little things like that. Yeah, you could stop. You could take your gloves off and, muck around. But this is all on the go. It just keeps the ride flowing.
I like the fact you don't have to touch the screen either.
Yeah. So we've got a couple of options with remotes. Have a look on the website under remote control or handlebar controllers. The remote 2 is by far the most popular one.
100%.
There's a remote 3 as well, which doesn't have the joystick. It's just button operated. And then there's a couple other brands.
That's basically what we've got on the KDM.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's other brands there, and you can have double-sided, so one on either side of the handlebars. But look, to be honest, this just works really well with the software and with the device. So then what else have we got? Well, these are the two. This is how the box comes. So you'll get everything included in your 865. You get your device, your holder, whether you choose the adventure or the heavy-duty off-road, and the wiring harness. So the only thing you need to add to that is basically a mounting system or a bracket. Okay. Now, if you have a Garmin Zumo on your bike already, then you've pretty much got everything you need. Yep. You've already got it mounted.
It's got these 4 holes there.
That's right. So these holes in the device, it's called an amps pattern. So it's 38 millimeters by 30 millimeters. Okay. So as long as you've got, and which is a standard Garmin mounting, there's a bunch of other devices that use that. That's all you need basically on the bike is the 38 by 30 amps mount. We sell a lot of these here, which are your little, like a lot of bikes like the Tenere, the Pruger Touareg, there's a bunch of them have the 12 millimeter bar that goes across the top. And these basically clamp onto the and then you attach that to the back of your thing, and there's your
mount.
There's your mount. So I did an order today for a customer who's got a Tenere 700. He's got one here and one he's going on a ride in America, hiring one. And this literally would be a 5-minute job to screw that onto the bar.
Yeah, that's right.
Screw that onto the mount. And then what I'm actually doing, and I offer this service to any of my customers, if I've got the correct plugs and I've got the correct Tenere ones, is I will wire that up with a Tenere plug. So it'll just plug straight into the Tenere harness. So nice. He's taken that to the States and he'll plug it in and it's nice and easy. So, and reach out to, like I've got a lot of experience with mounting on different bikes. We stock a lot of different mounts. Some of them are DMD, some of them are our own branded product. Like I've got some specific ones for this one here. I just landed yesterday. It's for that brand new CF Moto 800 MTX. So that bike's only been out a couple of weeks, but we got onto a supplier that's already made a mount for it. So that'll sit behind the dashboard of the bike. It's got the amps plate up the top. And I mean, even if you want to do it for your phone, like I sell the quad lock mounts for these as well, that mount on the top, but yeah, these will mount a DMD product or any other GPS device. So have a look at those. And they're all reasonably priced. Like this one, I think is like $90. So, and it's all anodized stainless.
It's quality.
Yeah, and it's got the anodized aluminium amps plate as well.
Yeah, right. Nice.
So these little ones here are $60, but they're universal. They fit just about any bike with a 12 millimeter amps bar. And then we've got the other thing I've actually sold quite a few of, which I'm surprised about, is the car charging holder. Okay. So I've got a lot of guys that run the DMDs in their cars on the weekend. They're 4 drives in their cars during the week sometimes, just to muck around with them. So this little boy here, they only released probably about a month or so ago, and essentially it's just a plastic holder. So it's not something you'd run on the bike, but you put just your regular RAM mount on the back to your windscreen, plug a USB cable in the back, and that'll power your DMD 865. So it just goes in like that, mounts in there, and it's in like that.
How good's that? Yeah, right.
So that's your car mount. They're $199. So sold a bunch of those already. Actually, it's been really good.
Down the track, I'm going to get you to set that up in my 200.
Yeah.
It'll be easy because you've got one too.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of people using these for driving.
There'd be a complete tax deduction for a lot of guys in business too.
Yeah. Well, the guy I sold one to the other day runs a business. They do something to do with like bushfire protection. Yep. So they've got to go out into these properties and do analysis on houses and bits and pieces. And he bought a DMD for the car. Yep. to use to follow all these tracks and do all these bushfire protection
That's
stuff.
basically the setup there with the suction cup, is it?
Yeah, that's it there. Yeah. If you flip that off, you'll see it.
Okay, you've got it already. It's stuck
Yeah,
on a
so
tile.
I sell the suction cup ram mounts as well. So this one I just use as a desk mount, but essentially it's the same thing. You run it like that,
That's the go.
and then put it up in your car, and it sits on the windscreen like that.
And you haven't had any fall off.
No, it's solid as a rock. I tested the one that I've got's been in my car for 6 months, suction to the screen, and I took it off the other day because I had to get a new windscreen. And it hasn't fallen off, hasn't. It's been really, really good. They've been good. Like I said, it's you can just use a USB-C cable. You don't need a cigarette lighter thing.
Yeah.
Most cars these days have got some sort of USB or USB-A cable in
I
them.
think I might invest in one of those.
Yeah, no, they've been good. That's pretty much it DMD wise. The tyre pressure monitoring system, the OBD sells well. The 665. It's all the same software as what's on the 865, just in a more compact version. So I get a lot of guys that run these that don't have a tower. They might want to put them on their handlebars.
This is a mount for that?
Yeah, that's the mount for that. Well, actually, that's the old mount. So it's an old plastic mount they used to do.
We haven't touched on that. I think this thing is fantastic. If I wasn't so bad, my eyes weren't so bad, I'd probably get this one. But
look, these are fully scalable. I run both because, like I said, I usually run 2 GPSs. But I sell a lot of these for the guys that do a bit more enduro, or some guys just don't want a big screen.
Yeah.
And so you got the small screen. This is also a phone, so you can same thing. You can throw a SIM card in it, connect it to the internet.
Because you can run them side by side with those other bikes with this like the smaller screens, like the Desert X's.
Yeah,
too, can't you?
run them above a speedo, or you can run it on the handlebars. There's a bunch.
I've actually seen them side by side, so they sit.
Yeah, and you can run it. I've got one locked in.
You can turn
landscape, but you can put it into portrait mode, which you
can put it on the spot.
Pressure, screen, and portrait phone mode. So that'll change around. So you'll see that's now
portrait.
In portrait
so
mode.
You can run it the other way. So if you have got a Desert X, you can run it side by side with the screen.
And some of those dual mounts for the 10R They run the speedo on one side and a GPS on the other.
Yeah. Just
like that.
looks nice and neat. Your eyes aren't all over the place. It's sort of centered, isn't it? Really.
And the same with the 865s. I've got guys that have run them in portrait mode like that over the top of their speedos.
Okay.
So it's up to you. You can run in portrait, landscape.
Yeah, right.
I mean, 99% of the time it's landscape, but choice is yours.
I'm just trying. Do you think you've covered? Because I've covered all the questions that I've been asked.
Look, the online thing we've covered off. They don't need to be. Android and Apple, no real issue.
The big one was the software. People are thinking that it is a monthly subscription. If you've got one of these, it's not. But if you want one on your phone, it is a monthly subscription. If you have one on your phone, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's a yearly subscription. I think they do it.
A yearly subscription.
I'm not 100% sure, but I'm sure it's yearly. I think it's $30 or $40 a year or something.
Which really isn't.
And they give you a free trial. So if you want to try it out on your phone before you make the investment in the device. And look, if you've got a couple of minutes, Mark, like a lot of people start on phones, right?
Yep.
And these phones, here's my iPhone. I think they're like $2,500 or something now for an iPhone, right?
Yep.
They're not designed to mount on a handlebar in 38 degrees, rattling.
That's right.
With the screen on max brightness. Yep. They're just not. And they'll do the job sometimes, but as soon as you get a bit of rain, you've got that USB cable in.
The biggest thing, Dave, is if you do run that phone and you haven't got a GPS and you break your phone and you don't know where you are and you can't call anyone, you are screwed. Not only have you broken a $2,500 phone, how do you get out of there?
Yeah, well, look, I've been on rides with guys that literally on the side of the track and, mate, you okay? And it's like, I'm just waiting for my phone to cool down. And they'll run a quad lock style wireless charger on the back, pumping even more heat into them.
Yeah, right.
So, look, it would be great if we could all just have one device and it would do everything, but these devices at the end of the day are fit for purpose.
Yep.
So they are made for adventure riding. They're made by adventurers. The guys at DMD ride a 10RA, CRF 300s. They've got bikes. They understand the way it works, and they're made for the job. It's like, that's probably a bad analogy, but it's like, you could run a marathon in a pair of thongs, right? But you're not going to.
Because that guy, who was that farmer who did the marathon and he was playing the gum boots? Oh my goodness.
what was
Yeah,
his
that's
name?
it, Young. Well, he done it, a pair of gumboots.
A pair of gumboots. But yeah, look, it's, these devices are made for adventure riding. They're made for heat. They're made for shaking. Mate, I've got guys that have run these on 690s like yours, like 700, big singles. Obviously, parallel twin, you don't get as much shake, but I haven't had one of these overheat yet. I haven't had one die from shaking. Look, they've got cameras. Actually, the new 865 doesn't have a camera in it anymore. I mean, I don't know I'm not one of those pensioners at the footy taking photos with an iPad.
Mine's got a camera in it.
Yeah, well, they don't put cameras in them anymore.
Oh, so mine was the one before?
Yeah, the last model, yeah. So the basically the camera was a device that hardly anyone used on it.
I didn't use it.
So they don't, I mean, the cameras on these don't fail because of the anti-shake in them. But yeah, they're just a really solid, built for purpose device. So like I said, feel free to try the software on an Android tablet or phone if you want to. That's what I did.
Yep.
But most guys end up coming to me and buying a device because I mean, that was like when I first started with DMD using the software, they didn't make this. So the only option really was to buy another brand of tablet that were very expensive at the time, way over, I mean, you're talking, just around COVID time, they were $2,000 plus for these tablets that were not great. Or you could run a Samsung tablet or a phone. Samsung tablet, actually, I've got it here. So this is the original tablet that I use. So it's a Samsung Tab Active 3.
Okay.
Right, and they're about the same price as what these are now. So these are $1,500. The tablet, I think these were $1,200 or $1,300 at the time.
Right.
They're nowhere near as bright. Nice big screen, right? Quite heavy. But the problem you've got is you've got to charge them with a USB cable.
Yeah, right.
And they either shake and ruin the port, or they get wet. And I've had all these problems with this device. And look, it's a nice device, but it really sold me on the software. And at the time I was just disappointed that there wasn't a hardware option. I'm like, God, if there was, this is the best software I've ever used, but the hardware keeps letting it down, right? And then I got my original 865 that I've had for 2.5 years now since they first came out, and I haven't looked back. Such a great device.
Yeah, and and you've got that software on there for free, and it's just part of the unit.
Yeah, part of that. All the updates are free, upgrades are free. Like, these guys add features to the software. There's no extra cost. They just add them in. And the other thing too, like the guy that I sold one to that's going to America, he's got a Zumo as well, and so for him to take that to America, he would have had to spend $200 on maps.
Is that right?
Yeah, to add that into the Zumo. These guys, download.
Yeah,
free.
And it is. I'd have seen all the different countries when you first started up.
I preloaded one for a customer last week who literally got the device on the Tuesday and was flying out on the Wednesday. And I downloaded Nevada, Colorado. There was a bunch of states he gave me, and I preloaded it all on the device for him, ready to go.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
So not only do you get a quality product, Dave will set you up.
Yeah, and I'm here for advice. Like if you're not sure how to mount it to your bike, maybe you've got a 300L Rally, maybe you've got a Royal Enfield Himalayan 450. I've got a Tenere myself and a couple other bikes which I've had experience with. But I've, a 1290 Super Adventure. I did a really good setup for a guy the other day. So that's probably where people really want to use the device or get the device but not quite sure how to set it up. And 9 times out of 10, I come up with a solution pretty quickly, and if I don't, I'll get one for them.
Yeah. So good on you. Well, I think we covered it. I think we covered everything.
Mate, I think so.
Yeah, you happy with that?
Yeah.
Look, awesome, mate. Thank you.
No, too easy, mate.
It's great talking. You once again, I've learned something else today. Especially the arrows in the where you're going. I didn't realise it. I didn't even see that.
Mate,
I've had it for a month.
You're following the line, mate. That's all you need to do. Follow the line. I might get some T-shirts made up. Follow the pink line or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. Okay.